Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys and offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Business First Bank, with locations throughout the state, including 11 offices in the Baton Rouge area, providing personal and commercial banking, treasury management, and wealth solution services to help clients succeed. Business First Bank, banking with greater momentum. And by Shewart & Associates, legal recruiters in Louisiana and Texas. And Orange Theory Fitness, delivering fitness results for a healthier world.
From Mansurs on the Boulevard, we're out to lunch with Stephanie Riegel. Stephanie Riegel is a broadcaster and editor of Baton Rouge Business Report. It's business, Baton Rouge style.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Riegel. Welcome to Out to Lunch. They say that while people in most places eat to live, here in South Louisiana, we live to eat. And for those who make their living in the culinary world, that means the stakes are high and the competition intense. Daniel Thompson knows this well. He's the executive chef and co-owner of D Agostino Pasta Company, a Baton Rouge-based business located in the Drusilla Shopping Center that makes homemade pastas and pasta sauces and is rapidly expanding its footprint in supermarkets from Lafayette to New Orleans. Daniel is a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America and has headed the kitchens of such well-known Louisiana restaurants as Commander's Palace, the Grill Room at Windsor Court, the Baton Rouge Country Club, and White Oak Landing Plantation. Daniel, you have a great story. Can't wait to hear about what y'all are up to these days at D Agostino. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
And Mike Johnson is co-owner of DiGiulio Brothers Restaurant, another Baton Rouge food institution. In a city that seems sometimes like it's overrun with chain restaurants, DiGiulio is a beloved neighborhood institution, the kind of restaurant that people around here wish we had more of. The restaurant was founded in 1987 at the base of the Perkins Road Overpass by his father and uncle and became well known for its Italian-American menu. Today, Mike runs the establishment, and it's a rare night when he's not behind the bar or back in the kitchen, keeping things running smoothly. Mike, thanks for joining us on Out to Lunch.
Thank you for having us.
Now, Daniel, I'm going to start with you. You got into the business in 2013 when you and your partners bought Pasta Frizzina, which had been in this community for a long time. They were a pasta maker, but y'all have really expanded the products, kicked it up to the next level. What made you want to leave the restaurant world and get into the pasta making business with the D'Agostino family?
Well, I was working probably 70-hour weeks, 60, 70-hour weeks at Nottoway Plantation, and I talked to Mr. D'Agostino about business opportunities, and this arose, and I figured if we're working that hard for somebody else, might as well work that hard for myself.
And the Frizzinas were selling their company, or they were ready to get out of it,
yes,
right?
the Frizzinas were selling their company and moving to Georgia. So.
Now, it's one thing to be a great chef or a good chef, but making pasta, I would imagine, is a whole separate animal. It's like baking cakes. You really have to know what you're doing.
It is, and the antique pasta machine that we make all our pasta on really does most of the work for us. But when we turn the pasta machine on, we make 1,000 pounds of pasta at a time.
That's a lot.
Yes. And it's only semolina #1 in water, so it's not too hard. The ingredients are right.
Did you go back and take a course on pasta making or read up on it or study?
No, before we would turn the machine on, the old owner, Frank Frizzina, he stayed with us for about 3 months or maybe even 6 months and made pasta with us every time that we would make pasta. And he made sure that we were trained on how to use the machine and if any problems arose, what we would do to fix them.
That's great. So you really learned from the master.
Yes.
And you all have really expanded, though. I loved that place, and I loved what they did. Y'all have really kicked it up a notch. You've introduced new products?
Our tomato sauce. It's the tomato sauce I would make for my family at home, and we cooked it, we tasted it, and then brought it to LSU Food Incubator, and the food scientist helped us out there, and we got it into a jar, and now we are making it and selling it to a bunch of groceries.
And have you expanded the pastas you make, or you're just making more of it?
We're just making a lot more of it. We sell to a lot of the local restaurants, DiGiulio's being one of them. And we sell to grocery stores. Now, the Frizzinas were only selling out of the retail store that we still have on Drusilla Lane, So we just make a lot more pasta.
Well, speaking of DiGiulio's, Mike, as I said, your restaurant, it's really a unique sort of neighborhood institution. Why don't we have more restaurants like that in Baton Rouge?
I'm glad they're not. I was told for years, I think one of the first big chains to come in was the Chili's over here
Sure.
on College. And the proprietor was in our restaurant last night. He's running some of the Flemings now. He's a regional manager with those and regional owner. But he started that chain and he ran it real well. It was probably the number one Chili's in Louisiana in the world, or somewhere's in there. I don't know. I just know it was a big, successful Chili's. Probably still doing well today. But I was always told about that time, which is about 25 years ago, the chains didn't really want to come to Louisiana because they couldn't compete with the Cajuns and the Italians down here, and so they didn't want to go into the franchising business, and they come and go. You know, you'll see a lot of them come and go. But I guess the influx of people over the last 20, 25 years, 30 years, we're going to make 30 years coming up in June, that I guess there's a niche for having some chain restaurants, and they're just so simple to get in. You know, you pay a franchise fee, you start a restaurant, you have a foolproof plan, and I personally wouldn't. I would have to pay those fees for those people when I know how to do it now, although still big risk. And getting started in the restaurant business today is probably, it's always been tough. What am I saying, you know? And,
Now, you came up into it. It was a family business, and you sort of inherited it. I know you had a lot of cousins, but you're the one that is really...
Well, it really, to give you a part history on it, it started with three gentlemen, John DiGiulio, who is my father-in-law, Fred DiGiulio, who was his brother, and a guy named Richard Cole, who is still my partner today. And we split it 50-50. And so they started it. When you go in there, it was not meant to be here 30 years later.
It was not.
I think they celebrated the first year thinking, we cannot believe we made it a year.
That's great.
But they had a clause in there to buy the building and the property, and after several years, they went ahead and did that. And I showed up on their doorstep. I had a girlfriend at the time that went to work for them, and I was working in bar rooms and stuff like that. And so I ended up actually marrying the boss's daughter, but
Well,
we've been
that
married
worked out well.
22 years. So, but they still charge me full price. I still like to say that to everybody.
You know, the building, I mean, it's not much to look at, honestly, but I think the building makes it in so many respects. It gives it that character and that sense of authenticity that people feel like they're in a real place and not like in a strip mall somewhere.
Correct. I walk into this beautiful restaurant here at Mansurs, and it's all gorgeous and nice, and I'm jealous. But as they'll explain, and you know, it's an ecosystem. So, yeah, I'd love to build another bigger, badder version of it, but people would swear the food doesn't taste the same.
They
anymore.
would. And
So when you go there and you have to wait an hour, and you in particular don't even mind it. I get a little anxious, but you're like, don't change a thing. So
no, and you see everybody you know, and,
Yeah.
and you are well tended by those behind the bar. They always make sure you have a drink, so that's nice.
That's right.
And what's the secret to your menu doesn't change very much, but like consistently good food?
Yeah, I appreciate that, you know, and all restaurants go through some change when you lose a long-term employee that's done a lot of the work, or you slack off. And so we go in and have a tasting every morning. I taste all the sauces, and I've got some guys that have worked in the kitchen there for over 15 or 20 years, and they handle most of the big stuff, the sauces, the red sauce, the manicotti, the lasagnas. And so then we have some guys that come in at night and put out the food that have been in with us long. Just very blessed to have long-term employees, really, to be honest with you.
And did you have a culinary background?
No. My PhD stands for post-hole digging. I mean, it's, no. But I've just always been in the bar business during college.
Okay.
And so one thing led to another. And so so I went to work for these guys, and I'd worked for Tony Roma's in Dallas. I'd worked for some big chains, and didn't really like that. They were, you had to carry a piece of butter out on a 17-foot tray, and I was like, and these guys were just real relaxed, and they actually would ask me more than they knew at the time, and so it was great, and they were just so relaxed, and there was not a meeting every 5 minutes, and so I just said, I can finish school here and finish this job, and then 25 years later, I'm
Here we are.
still finishing with them, So
That's great.
And ended up having a chance to buy in, so it was great.
Now, Daniel, you sell your pasta now to DiGiulio's among other restaurants.
Yes.
How many restaurants are y'all in the Baton Rouge area?
Probably about 12 restaurants in the Baton Rouge area. DiGiulio's buys the most pasta that out of all the restaurants. Of course, it's one of the better restaurants. Little Village buys all our pastas, and then Jubin's and Fresh Kitchen and a few other ones.
Was it hard to get them to switch from whoever they were buying it from?
Not most of the restaurants would definitely, they don't mind paying a little more for better quality pasta. And no, not really.
How much more, for instance, is it to buy, percentage-wise, your pasta than something that comes off the Cisco truck? Is it immaterial?
Probably about 50% more.
That's a good bit.
Yes.
Is it worth it, Mike?
I think so because, there's with the influx of TV and Food Network and fresh to farm to table and all these little words and stuff and like we said, if it's not broke, we don't fix it. But Daniel being with his resume and Charlie being there, it just think that it really helps the community. It's 50%, but we're not talking about thousands of dollars.
Sure.
And your bottom line, you don't have to go up to charge it, and you give people a much fresher product that's made to order almost. And so it's just kind of nicer to give.
I think the Baton Rouge clientele also is looking for better products now and handmade artisanal products, and it's changing here in Baton Rouge.
Is there a
like
secret?
the chains,
Yeah,
you said, the chains
absolutely.
before? I think they're looking for more mom and pops restaurants that people put love into the food.
I would think that's absolutely right. Is there a secret to making really great pasta?
Well, our pasta machine came from Italy in 1926.
That's so
and
cool.
it'll still make up to about 3,000 pounds a day. We use great semolina, great flour, and we use water, our Baton Rouge water. But then we also air dry it for 3 days, which makes it cook like a fresh pasta, and you can really taste the semolina that we use. The larger companies stick their pasta in a microwave and dry it in within about 30 minutes. And it gets real hard and brittle, and you can't taste the flour.
So you air dry it instead of bake dry it?
Yes.
So maybe that is... How do you have enough space in that shopping center to make all this pasta?
We have 2 drying rooms. We have one for our cut pasta, which we make some really interesting shapes like fleur-de-lis, crawfish, and alligator-shaped pastas. But then we have another one for the long pasta, and we sell a lot more long pasta than... the cut pasta. The cut pasta is really easy to make. The long pasta, we still dance around on bamboo sticks to even it out so it dries right. And then when we make long pasta, we probably do about, I'd say, 600 bamboo sticks at a time. And then after it's dry, we have to cut it all off by hand. And
How many employees do you have back there?
we have 3 employees, and that's including myself. And
This is a lot of work, it sounded like.
but it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And
What time how much do you make a day, and how long does it last?
we make pasta about twice a week, and we start at 6 in the morning, and we usually finish around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And of course, we sell it fresh the day that we make it.
You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Stephanie Riegel. We're talking to Daniel Thompson of D Agostino Pasta Company and Mike Johnson of DiGiulio Brothers. Mike, I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned, the trend towards more locally sourced foods and the demand for that from customers. How much locally sourced food do you all purchase at DiGiulio's and serve? I mean, have you all gotten into the farm to table movement?
Not on my menu, because we don't describe it as, C.C. Lockwood's fresh chicken eggs from St. Francisville farm. We've been doing what we do. It's just you have a consumer now, a younger consumer that's just more educated. That has a background or watching Food Networks and watching TV to understand they like that. So. Nobody's forced to do that, but it's nice, and so really the Daniel and these guys are kind of brought our attention to it, really. So we're looking around. We're looking for some locally forced some meats and stuff like that, and people are coming to us. But again, we use some stuff out of Georgia and stuff like that with Cisco, because they're a distributor for Butcher Block and some other things. It's farm to table, but it's you have to. It's
and
also you got to keep your prices down,
sure,
and keep everything else going.
Well, and then if you read the trade pubs, sometimes the farm to table label is misleading. I mean, there are all sorts of exposés now that some of these restaurants that say they're sourcing locally really don't. So
yeah, and I think that's what's great about the local restaurants. I think they all pretty much try to do that. I don't believe that anybody's pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. I mean, you might get some places here in town that say it's my, but it's drum or something like that. But I don't find that.
Well, I want to take a little break from business, gentlemen, to sort of just switch gears for a minute and maybe get some insight into your personality a little bit. So tell me what culinary figure, a chef or a restaurateur, or it could be a family member or whoever, has most influenced your career and your cooking, and how?
I loved working at Windsor Court. Chef Rene Bourgeois, he was a French master chef.
Okay.
When I worked there, and he was just an all-around great guy. Was green right out of culinary school.
When were you there, Daniel?
I think it was in 2003.
And Windsor Court Grill Room, I mean, that was probably the finest restaurant in New Orleans in those years.
It was the only 5-star restaurant and hotel in New Orleans when I worked there, and they were very patient with me and taught me a lot, and we just had some great ingredients to work with. Anything we wanted, we would just talk to them, and we could get it in from white truffles to pheasant. I remember I saw kangaroo for the first time.
Wow. What a great experience, though.
Yes.
And where is he now? Do you keep up with him?
I think after Katrina, I believe he had moved to the Caribbean to run a resort there, and then he came back and worked with John Besh at a restaurant in Covington, La Provence.
Sure, that's another good one.
Now I don't know where he is from there.
But sometimes do you catch yourself at work and you really can feel that influence or what you learned from him coming out in what you're doing?
It was his attitude that really I learned from, and like how he had so much pressure of parties going on here and everything. And it was his attitude that I really fell in love with. You didn't see the pressure. You didn't see. He was serious and taught everybody. So he was a great chef to work with.
That's excellent. What about you, Mike? Who really influenced your culinary career?
Well, just by accident, because I was mostly attending bar in college, and then you end up at a restaurant that has a bar in it, and so it was it just went that way. Now, I'll tell you, between John DiGiulio, who is a criminal attorney here in town, and he had all the family recipes, and so and his brother Fred, who just passed away about a year and a half, 2 years ago, was a pretty darn good cook, for just being raised in an Italian family and watching your mother cook all these dishes all the years from these recipes, and so. And of course, Richard Cole, they're all were fraternity brothers.
Okay. Here at LSU?
Here at LSU. And they're all great cooks, and no chefs, no cooks and everything. So they said, let's put together with John's red sauce and John's recipes. And over the years, we've had some chefs and we've had some great cooks. And we've tweaked stuff, we've tried it. And so that's why we don't do many pheasants or anything like that,
or white truffles.
It's just out of our realm, unless Daniel will come over and show us how to do it, which he's always offered to do stuff like that.
Stick with what you know.
Stick with what you know. So we just do these tried and true recipes, and every once in a while we'll try some lamb and we'll do some things like that. And so Richard's still there with me, and my father-in-law John is there all the time. He seems to come eat a lot free. I think it's because he's quality control.
There you go.
I hope. But I'm really impressed with the things that Daniel's done and stuff like that. That's just neat, seeing those major kitchens.
Well, we were talking a few minutes ago about the demand for more artisanal food and just a more savvy consumer, and that's made, I think, so much more competition in this market. All these new restaurants that you alluded to, Daniel, and a lot of them are in your neighborhood. Mike, right there by the overpass. It's a hopping little district. Is the competition good for your respective businesses, or is there enough of a market here, big enough pie to go around?
It's great for me because they're more interested in
Yeah.
paying a little more for pasta. But I looked at a menu or a couple of these new restaurants' menus, and you said earlier it says where the chicken egg came from. This. It's like, I don't want to. That's almost too much information for me. And I was like, some of these flavors don't mix or match well together,
But it sounds good on a menu.
It sounds fancy.
It sounds like I've got to have that, and most of the time it's pretty darn good.
Do y'all have on your menu that you serve D'Agostino pasta?
You know, I don't think
I don't
we
think
do.
you do. I
it's
think
time
you
to make-
need to.
My
I
customers
think
get
we need to
nervous when I
change.
make new menus because they think the prices go up. Yeah.
But what
I got
of-
such regular
what-
customers that when their bill, they know what their bill's going to be. So if it goes up, they're like, "Oh, he must have made new menus." But that's something
is-
that definitely is going to need to be coming. So
What of the competition in your neighborhood? Has it helped you, hurt you, or not made much difference?
I'm a believer that I'm always in favor of anybody's success as long as it doesn't hurt me. But I believe that it's better. We had ZZ Gardens across the street forever.
Sure.
And it was a little watering hole, and people would have a little bit of that, and they'd walk over. And now they have the Merchant, might be called the Overpass Merchant.
Mm-hmm.
What the great guys! They did a fantastic job on rebuilding that building, and it's just been nothing because they were closed for 5 or 6 months, and it was terrible. It was dark. It didn't look good, and so as soon as they went back online and they're good, it's been great. And now we have the Kahlua Street Grill right around the corner. And that's just going to help. I believe a healthy bit of competition is good. It keeps you, if you're green, you're growing, and if you're ripe, you're rotten.
Exactly.
So, you have to hit the road. You can't just, because I have plenty of people that tell me, "Oh, you guys are great. You never go anywhere." It's like, yeah, it's an ecosystem, man. It's, you put the wrong salt in the water or something like that, and then it goes down. So we just work every day. We're there a lot, and so I think it's good. We got Zippy's right down the street. You got Frankie's Dog House. You got Galatoire's. You got Salad Shop. You got Jubin's. You got all these other ones that are just still doing great. So I encourage it. It's
And I can
pretty
walk
good.
to most of them, so I
And
love
I don't
it.
think any of them have the atmosphere you do. It's like almost walking in the Cheers when you walk in the DiGiulio's. I mean,
Yeah, well-
10 people in there, and you see Mike or Clint behind the bar.
Sure.
That's right. We saved some money on the glass, brass, and marble. There's no doubt about it. We went on the heavy cheap decor. You know what I mean?
It's
when
okay.
we started,
But it's warm and it's cozy and it has a good vibe, and that's what you want in an establishment. You want that
thank you. We
vibe.
appreciate that.
Well, you mentioned growing, Daniel. What are your plans for D'Agostino's? Do y'all want to scale up and go national? Are y'all looking? Certainly, you have a business plan. This is clear, and with
Yes.
Charlie D'Agostino working with you, I know you have
Yes,
ambitions to go somewhere big.
and we want to be a pasta manufacturer, really, and that's what we're doing now. But go a little larger with that. And then our tomato sauce is great. We want everyone to try our tomato sauce and go really big in the groceries with that. Rouse has started carrying our pastas and tomato sauces, which that was big. There's 60 more grocery stores.
61 now, and that puts you throughout the Gulf South.
Yes.
That's huge.
And I mean that's big. And now we need to get our tomato sauce a little more. Then we'll move out of the LSU incubator and have some other people make it for us, and that'd be great. For us to get much bigger with the pasta, though, we are gonna have to get a different pasta machine or either a bigger facility to be able to make more and dry more.
I mean, can you air dry pasta if you want to go national and scale up that size?
Yes, we just need a few more rooms, and I think that's what makes us really special is the air drying of the pasta.
Is the plan to go national or to stay regional? Or?
To stay regional, Louisiana, Texas, maybe around Alabama, Florida areas. But I don't think we could get much bigger than that, not with our pasta machine and the way we're doing it.
See where it goes.
Yes.
Mike, have y'all ever thought about a second location or growing, or is this a one-trick pony?
Well, you think about it because it would be great to make more money. I've got 2 kids at U-High over here and private school, and it's not cheap. And my wife's a realtor, and she works. And everybody thinks, oh man, they're killing it. It's only 14 tables, It's
only
charming.
14. That's hard
in
to
size,
believe.
There's
Sure.
another 5, and that's seasonal, in and out. We don't have it covered, and per square foot, I think we're doing great. I would love to. It's like having a kid to move out. I don't know how I could take care of both,
Yeah.
And I've got a great manager. Clint Stockwell is wonderful. He's as good as anybody. He's a rolling billboard, and but yeah, you never say no, but it'll be slow growth, like Daniel and them would like to go bigger, but it's sometimes you have to just take your time and try to discover where that's going to come. But at this point, we're just busy little bees trying to take care of this one location, I think.
Well, Mike Johnson and Daniel Thompson, you all are both bringing a lot to the culinary scene here and the cultural offerings in Baton Rouge. I wish we had more time to visit, but that's all we have time for today. Good luck with your continued growth, and thanks for joining me today on Out to Lunch.
Thank you.
My guests today on Out to Lunch have been Daniel Thompson of D Agostino Pasta Company and Mike Johnson of DiGiulio Brothers Restaurant. You can find out more about D Agostino Pasta and DiGiulio Brothers by following the links on our website. It's batonrouge.la and wrkf.org. Today's show was recorded live over lunch at Mansurs on the Boulevard in Baton Rouge. Mansurs is open for lunch daily from 11 to 2, for dinner nightly, and for brunch on Saturdays and Sundays. The producer of our show is Grant Morris. Our technical producer is Eric Merle. Our associate producer is Peter Raschuti. And our Baton Rouge business consultants are Charlie D'Agostino and Ann Edelman. You can see photos from this show on itsbatonrouge.la and on our Facebook page. These photos are taken by Rick LeCompte. All the music on Out to Lunch is composed and performed by Mitchell Foreman. You can find more of Mitchell's music wherever great jazz is streamed or sold and at mitchellforeman.com. You can get the show as a podcast, you can listen to past shows, and you can keep up with us on all kinds of social media by going to our websites. It's batonrouge.la and wrkf.org. Out to Lunch is a production of INO Broadcasting for its batonrouge.la and WRKF 89.3 FM. I'm Stephanie Riegel. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to meeting you again next week around the table here at Mansurs for more business Baton Rouge style on Out to Lunch.
Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys and offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Business First Bank, with locations throughout the state, including 11 offices in the Baton Rouge area, providing personal and commercial banking, treasury management, and wealth solution services to help clients succeed. Business First Bank, banking with greater momentum. And by Short & Associates, legal recruiters in Louisiana and Texas. And Orange Theory Fitness, delivering fitness results for a healthier world.